Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Jason and today I'm going to show you the basic electronics setup for an electric skateboard. Now there's no real need to overcomplicate it. Everything you see in this picture here is everything you need. So let's go ahead and take a look. For the electronics section, you just need a battery, a power switch, a motor, an ESC, and a transmitter and a receiver. So let's go ahead and move over and just connect everything, and then I'll show you how easy it is to get it to work. Alright guys, now that that's taken care of, let's just go ahead and have a close-up look. We're going to start with the battery, run from the battery out to the power switch. Once we run over to the power switch, then it runs over and goes to the ESC, which in turn, the power going to the ESC will run over to the motor. Then we can go ahead and connect to the computer and I'll show you how to configure the ESC. Alright guys, so first things first, in order to configure your VESC, you're going to have to go to VESCproject.com, go to VESC tool, and download the software for it. So we'll just scroll down the bottom there. They've got several different options. You can choose to donate to them if you want, or you can also just download it for free. Just click on the add to cart, and then they'll ask you to set up your email information and they'll send you a download link. I've already got it downloaded and I figured you guys can do this without any worries. So we'll just go ahead and switch over to the VESC tool here. Now I've got the VESC plugged into the USB. So in order to connect, I'm going to have to turn the power on to it. Give it just a moment to set up, and then we'll go ahead and click on connect here. And once we click on connect, it'll auto detect the VESC is connected to the computer. You can see in the bottom right corner here it says connected to COM23. Now yours will vary depending on what COM port your computer registers it as. But we'll move over to the welcome wizard and we'll go to motor setup. And the motor setup is fairly straightforward. So we'll just click on yes. Load the default settings. Now I'm going to choose to upload with FOC, so the FOC, and we'll click on next, and it will ask us here, you're about to configure the current limits, just go ahead and click on OK. Now this is the default setting, and I find this works fairly well with my 10S battery that I have here, so I just usually go ahead and stick with this setup here. Click on next. And it wants to ask if you want to configure the voltage. So I say yes. Now here is where you want to pay attention to the type of battery you are using. Now I typically use a 10S battery, but this particular testing battery right here is just a 7S battery. So it will give me the recommended voltages for the warning and then the cutoff. So we can go ahead and do that. Click on apply, and after we apply it, you'll see that it sets the voltage warning and the voltage cutoffs for the start and the end. So click on next, move over to choose the type of motor that you have. Now I'm using one that does not have a sensor, but if yours does have a sensor, you can just choose the sensor options that you have. Click on next, and we'll move over to the settings here. Now in order to configure the ESC with the motor, we're going to have to detect and calculate some of the parameters. Now it's nothing too fancy. This software will go ahead and do it for you. So just make sure your motor is free and it's not sitting on anything, because it is going to make some noises, and then in the next step it will spin up. So we'll just go ahead and hold the motor in place, click on RL, choose OK, and you'll instantly hear some strange sounds on the motor here. Once that's done, you'll see all of these settings highlighted in green, and we'll move over to the next step. Click OK, and once we do that, you'll hear the motor spin up, and then the rest of it will turn to a green setting. So we can go ahead and click apply on this, then next, and we'll finish with the motor setup. So we'll move over to the transmitter setup. As you can see here, the transmitter is turned on, the receiver has a signal, so we'll go ahead and click on next. Yes, set it to default. We're only using one VESC, so we'll click on next. We are using a PPM input, which is this transmitter here. Click on next, and then we will have to detect the pulse strength for the start, the end, and the center. Now this one's automatically in the center, so let's just go ahead and increase the throttle, then we'll back up and let it detect the minimum, max, and the center points of your throttle. Once we do that, we will click on apply, then move on over to next and set the settings. Now I prefer current, no reverse, with brake, but if you want to set up for current with no reverse, you can do that. You can do just current, so you can also choose to have choose for your board to move forward and also in reverse if you want, but I prefer no reverse with brake. So I'm just going to write that to the VESC, click next, and then click on finish. Now once I do that here, I'll go ahead and move over to disconnect from this VESC tool. And once I disconnect from the VESC tool, I will just go ahead and try the throttle out and make sure that everything's working properly. Okay, so that's how you configure your VESC for your motors and your transmitter setup.